Hey guys, don't mind me. I'm just in a blanket because it's really cold in here. But so if you hear my 100-year-old house making radiator sounds, that's what's going on. It's not that I'm like, sacrificing anyone ritualistically in the back room. It's that my radiators have turned on and this house is cold. So disregard that. So I'm super excited to be able to deliver this message today. I think it's super necessary given, the holiday season, one, Thanksgiving being over, and then two, now going into another very big holiday month. It's daunting. There's a lot that goes into it. So when you're back to regular life, um, you're like, what the hell? Where do I go from here? And I find that a lot of you guys, like, I want to say like at least half of you have been with me long enough to hear me tell you to change your verbiage or correct your verbiage, let's say. And those of you who are newer, we'll get into this, so don't worry. But when it comes to our verbiage, it's something that a lot of us forget about. And it took me a long time to adjust to. But the way we say things, phrase things, think things, all of it matters. All of it. One, all of it triggers something hormonally as well. Stress, as I've talked to you guys about. Two, it makes it really difficult to stick to anything. And it makes it really difficult to actually understand, because I've heard from you guys so many times about the connection between, sorry, I just got a weird notification. But anyway, it's the connection between wanting to continue and keep trying and understanding that, yeah, I know it's not going to happen fast. I know I'm going to lose weight slow. It's the same thing as when, you guys are telling me I understand logically the situation, but my brain makes me feel this way. I have heard that from you guys so many times since I've started doing this, and I've felt it myself. So what's the key here? The key is we have to take back the freaking reins. And I wish that I could instill upon you guys I wish I had a viewfinder that could just play for you a day in your life with you not letting anything bother you to the point where it disrupts your state of being in that moment. And I know that sounds like a dream and it sounds so unrealistic. It sounds like it could never happen to you and there's so much going on in your situation, and why? Or maybe you're like, I want to be that way. Why can't I be that way? Like, what's wrong with me that I can't be that way? There's nothing wrong with you, and it is possible. It's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of determined energy in terms of like realizing how you have to change each day. It's going to take time. So let's dive in. What the hell is realistic positivity? Realistic positivity, I think, is like my new way of saying law of attraction, because the second you get into law of attraction, you start talking about affirmations, things like that. You could believe in the law of attraction, but it's okay to admit, it still feels a little bit wackadoo. Like it still feels a little bit like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna dream I'm gonna win the lottery tomorrow. Like I'm gonna affirm it, it's gonna happen. I get it. There'll always be that certain level of it there. But realistic positivity is the notion that you do not have to state your negative feeling or your disdain for that moment or whatever it is. You don't have to put it out there. You don't have to proclaim it. You don't have to say, I'm struggling or I'm having a hard time with this. Now, I am not asking you to stifle either. I'm not asking you to ignore those feelings or not express yourself. I'm saying there is a huge difference between, today is a tougher day. So therefore I'm trying to relax, or I'm trying to organize myself better, and talk more about what you're doing to help yourself in that day. Does that make sense to you guys? And make sure you're sending me your feedback in the chat. You know how I love it. Keeps me on track as well. But, reframing it into, and okay, so I'm doing what I got to do today. I'm pushing through the best of my ability. Whether you're sitting there saying to yourself, oh God, I feel like shit today, or whether you're just doing that, what's the difference? If you can't talk today, if you proclaim how shitty you feel, I know you've heard me say this a million times. Does it change the situation you're in? No. Does it make it harder to deal with the situation you're in? Because now, on top of the shitty situation you find yourself in, you're drilling it home that you feel shitty too. It doesn't help. It's a detriment. So my suggestion for you guys is stop proclaiming, stop expressing the thing that you want to change or go away. You know, don't label yourself as having a bad day. Don't label yourself as, you know, today's shit. As hard as it is, it's not helpful to yourself, to anything. So what do we do with that? Best case, worst case is something I brought up in the chat, in the group chat today. And I think it's really helpful to kind of put things back into a frame of reality, where to us, a situation is going to be carried over from the last. You know, how many more things can go wrong? Can anything else be added to my plate today? Well, there you go. I was having a good day and now here we are. These are things I have definitely said to myself in the past. I'm sure you guys have as well. So best case, worst case is a good exercise to use to kind of reframe something that's making you feel very, very, very stressed into a way where it's manageable, or, you know, it's not that scary. So let's say you're going to, or you got invited to, I'm just going to use the example I used with Anna in the chat today. So she was asked on a date and she was really nervous about it. She's freaking out about it. And so I said, best case, you have an awesome time. Worst case, you get free dinner. And that can be applied to any situation. So let's say, you know, you have an important presentation coming up at work. You try everything you can. You do everything you can to prepare for it. You're as prepared as you can be for it, right? Best case scenario, I go in there and I nail it. Worst case scenario, it's not my best and I still get a paycheck. You know, and if for those of you who are probably like, well, worst case would be if I got fired. Well, if you're working somewhere that not being exactly perfect would be a fireable offense, you should get your resume together and get the hell out of there and find something else. Because if you're working for a place that is that nitty gritty, either you're already on your last leg there, or you're working for a really stressful, shitty boss. Because most employers will will maybe offer feedback on how you could improve. Or maybe, I don't know, tell you they didn't like how you did, whatever, but it won't be a fireable offense. So worst case scenario, it's not my best. I get a paycheck at the end of the day and I keep it moving. Best case scenario, I knock it out of the park. Do you guys see the difference between reframing things in that way, where it takes the pressure off of you, where it may feel like because you've been stressed or because you're dealing with so much that every little situation is just an add-on to the last situation, and it's just building and building and building. No, take back that control. Bring yourself back into the present and say to yourself, there may be a lot of things happening, but they don't all have to do with each other. Right now, what's happening? Right now, what do I have to focus on? Right now, what's the best or worst case scenario for this one thing? And it kind of centers your brain from having to tackle everything that's going on into one digestible thing at a time. And that is a lot more efficient than just freaking the hell out or saying I'm stressed or saying I'm struggling or today is a bad day. You know, that doesn't fix anything. Okay. Ocean said, I did that today. I had a best case for a job interview. So best case, I would get the job. Worst case is I went to the interview, I got out of bed and I tried. Absolutely. Or a worst case scenario is that you got more interview experience. You know, and that's the perfect way to look at it, is you want to minimize the downside so that you can show yourself that it's going to be okay at the end of the day. Have we not survived through way worse than the stuff that stresses us out from day to day? Of course we have. So remind yourself, pull yourself back into the moment and really put it into perspective so that you don't feel like, my next point is, life doesn't happen at you. Life is not smooth. It's not consistent. It is not planned. Every minute of every day can't be foreseen. It's just think about it. All that happened was that whatever you believe in, the methods in which humanity was created, but whatever, boom, we're here. All right. All we were was placed here. So, or I don't know, we inhabited the earth like animals used to, so what really distinguishes what we should be doing to keep it smooth? If you think about all of the things humans do outside of their biology, like we don't live in caves anymore. We don't go start fires and go hunt for our food and things like that. We do some pretty impressive shit compared to our biological purpose, whatever the hell that is. So if you think about it, if we're doing a lot of things as humans, if we're making money decisions, we are, building homes, feeding ourselves, clothing ourselves, having conversations with people, talking to employers, all of these advanced things, is there not a whole lot more room for error or a lot more chance for things to not go as planned? So as human beings, the things we're doing, they may come with the risk of an outcome we don't want. That is the case for everybody. Health-wise, financially, does not matter. Life happens the way it happens for everybody, the way it happens. That's it. My grandmother's quote I always bring up, it's my favorite, is even the king had problems, or even the king has problems. That's her famous quote. And I love it because it's so true. It is subjective. Everybody thinks that they're going through a lot of shit. Where on the outside, if we were looking at other people's problems, we'd probably be like, I wish that was my problem. So that brings me to the next point, which is, and this one's a little bit of a tough pill to swallow, but it's because I had to swallow that pill too. But stop acting like you deserve any specific kind of body. Nobody deserves or doesn't deserve whatever body they have or whatever health they have or whatever's happening. It is not a game of favoritism when you meet someone who has it better than you. Nobody decided that. Nobody was sitting there and putting names up on the board and they were like, you know what? Who's going to get like the mediocre life, like the really just bottom of the barrel shit where they got to really work really hard? And who's going to have it super easy? You know what? Let's put Sally in this list. We're going to screw up her whole life, right? And then we're going to put this person in. Nobody did that. It's just the way of life to everybody. There's no way I could drill home this point enough. And that is that comparison is the killer of joy. There's zero logic behind comparison. If you are comparing yourself to some girl that you knew, that you went to high school with and you haven't talked to in 10 years and she happened to get knocked up before you, she has nothing to do with you. Her life, her path, her timing, none of it has to do with you. As shitty and real in reality as that is, because trust me, I as an infertile woman, I see people having kids all around me and it's hard. But at the end of the day, I don't feel bitter towards them because they have something I don't. Someone else's timing is not our own. And you know what? Not for nothing, I've met lots of assholes with great metabolisms and health. So I've met lots of people who are just miserable souls who don't deserve to have anybody in their lives. But guess what? They're a size 2 and can eat whatever they want. Big whoop. They're going to live a lot less full of a life than you will. So if you want to compare anything, know that for every example of someone who's doing better than you, there are a million more examples of people who are doing far worse. And I'm not saying that to minimize your feelings. I'm saying that to not the people who are down and out. I'm talking about the jerks. I'm talking about the people who don't deserve the good things and don't get them. There's lots of cases. There are so many different types of people. If we look at black and white, comparing somebody who has what we want to ourselves, you can do that all day long. There are going to be examples of that everywhere. So if you go hunting for that comparison, you will be heartbroken. It's at the end of the day, you can't help it. There's lots of people doing better than all of us out there. And whether they're good people or not is a secondary point. So let's see. What did I write in my chicken scratch here? Okay, so now what's another tip I have that's going to be a little bit of a hard pill to swallow? Stop it with the doom and gloom. Stop it with the emojis of the sad faces, of the disgruntled faces. Stop it with the, and the stink face and the pouting, and because this is coming from me. I used to be the most negative, downtrodden person in the world. I wish that I could go back in time and show you guys like a video of me from back in the day, because I feel like no one believes me because of how I am now. But I used to be a real grouch. And I used to be really just have a dim view of the future and of people and of just everything. You know, I was super bitter, super isolated and alone feeling. You know, I just never really quite fit in, you know, all of these things. So I turned to being like the, you know, bitter, kind of funny because I was sarcastic. Are we kidding? I was always funny. Even when I wasn't anything else good, I was funny. But, you know, so I turned to that instead. And at the end of the day, I got to tell you, a lot of times people laugh because it makes them uncomfortable. Like if your joking is talking shit about yourself, people don't know what to say to you besides, no, that's not true. It's just awkward. And it makes you feel like crap about yourself, even more so. Every sad emoji you put, every stink face, every pout, every why is it like this for me? Every time you do that, all you're doing, you're not solving anything. You're not changing anything. The reality is still going to be what it is, except you are going to feel like crap because you're proclaiming what you don't want. You are proclaiming your struggle. You're putting your struggle out there. Of course, you're going to feel the vibe of whatever it is that you're saying. You know, think about a time that you've talked about something that makes you really happy or that you're really passionate about or excited about. And then think about talking about something you dread. What is your energy? What is your entire just state of being in that moment when you're talking about something that really excites you or you're talking about something you absolutely dread? That energy follows you. It carries with you. So if you're talking about, and this goes back, I think, was it last week? No, the week before last, because last week I cooked. The week before last, I talked about, what was the point I was just going to make? It's gone. It was there and it's gone. It's been a long day. I'm wearing a blanket. So if it comes to me, I'm sure within the hour, I will let you guys know. But the Zoom I did before last week talked about mentality a lot more and talked about, you know, it wasn't the energy you put out there. Crap. I don't know, guys. Anyway, that's going to bother the crap out of me until I remember it. But my point to this whole thing is you don't have to sit here and be some granola hippie, life is great, butterflies and rainbows, I never get sad. I'm not asking you guys to do that because it's unrealistic. I will never be, unless I'm like under the influence of something crazy. Like I won't ever be like that either. But, this is what I was going to say. View things as problems to solve. You're never going to have a shortage of problems. We all are. I have them every day. But I don't view them as problems. I just view them as a part of Tuesday. I view them as, okay, so this is something I gotta get through. I think of it as, what's the solution? What could I try to make it better? Who could I ask for help? What could I search for information on this? I don't let anything that comes my way be viewed as a problem that is so big I can't handle it. And you guys can do the same thing. Because there is no problem big enough that you can't handle. It might suck as you handle it. It might not be the best solution. You know, you might struggle as you figure it out. But at the end of the day, everything is figure outable. You have your life. That's figure outable. You know, so if you stop viewing things as like, oh no, not again. Why is this happening to me? Why am I like this? Why is blah, blah, blah? Anytime you do that, I want you to stop and remind yourself and say, okay, this could literally happen to anyone else. What do I do? What's my next step even? And that next step may be asking what the next step should be, or, you know, researching or expressing your frustration to, whether it be me, to a therapist, to a friend, to the group, whatever. But my point is, stop viewing things as an unsurmountable amount of bullshit to deal with, because everything is figure outable if you believe that it's figure outable. Just a matter of taking the time and putting the work in to figure it out, which isn't going to always be pleasant. But what's better? Sitting here and feeling like the world is cowering over you and like you can't handle it all? Feeling like you're lucky you get from day to day, or feeling like, hell yeah, I got through yesterday? Because they mean the same thing. They just have a very different vibe, different meaning, different energy. I realized that I said they have a different meaning after saying they had the same meaning, but you guys get what I'm getting at. So you can control the doom and gloom. You can. I'm not saying it to be condescending. I'm very apt to the world of mental health. I believe in mental health professionals. I go to therapy weekly. I'm not telling you guys just ignore your feelings. You get over it. Don't be sad. That is not at all what I'm saying. What I'm saying is know that life is going to be complicated. There's going to be days that are difficult and days that are more challenging to get through than others. But at the end of the day, you can control the doom and gloom, because if you don't allow it to manifest in your head, if you say to yourself, the second that bad thought comes in, you're like, whatever, how do I fix it? If you keep doing that long enough, your brain learns that you don't have time to mess around with stuff that doesn't help. And it will become second nature. But it starts with the determined idea that I am not allowing anything to F with me. Everything is figure outable. That's what realistic positivity is. It's not saying everything will be wonderful. It's saying everything will be figure outable. That's a huge difference. Do you guys see that huge difference? Give me some feedback in that. Well, now I'm like sweating, but give me some feedback in the chat. I want to see what you think. Sometimes when an intrusive or negative thought comes along, I think of them as leaves on a stream and I let them pass by. Yes. Yeah, I learned that from my therapist. She said the same thing for OCD. So with OCD, if any of you guys in here, and if some of you do, if you haven't shared with me yet, I have OCD panic disorder. And a lot of times the intrusive thoughts that come along are just truly terrifying. Like they're just like, why did I think that? Like I am not a psycho, so why am I thinking this? But intrusive thoughts come and go. If you allow them to release and you don't put that meaning behind them, like, why am I thinking this? What does that thought possibly mean? If you think about it as leaves on a stream, it's just something that's just happened, just passing by. And you're able to release it. I love that. Great tip. Another one that I like to do is to laugh at them. I will literally, like if a thought comes in my head that's like not savory, let's say, I will truly shake my head. I'll be like, what? And I'll like laugh it off, and then I'll be like, whatever, and get back to work or like figure out something else to do. Like I try to like put down my intrusive thoughts. Like I always want to remind myself that they're not so powerful and they're not fact, they're not true. Right? So I'm always trying to put them in the light of like, stupid thought, and kind of just downplaying it as much as possible. But intrusive thoughts suck. They're terrifying. So what are you guys gathering from the difference between, oh crap, I had such a good line. What was that? You guys can tell I'm like fried today. But I mean, it is almost 9, right? This concept makes perfect sense, but I find it hard to make that mental switch in the moment / day to day. I'm going to try and stop myself and say, how do I solve this, rather than get upset about every little thing. Yeah. Oh, that's what it was. It's not realistic positivity is not saying that everything will always be wonderful. It's saying that things will be figure outable. That's what I meant. Sorry. Your message, Amanda, reminded me of what I was about to forget again. So yeah, no, that the way you can remember that in the moment is if you feel, the minute that you register that you feel upset, ask yourself why you're upset. Then, because I do this with you guys a lot, but this is how I developed this practice with myself, was I try to think of a little child who continues to ask why to everything you answer, right? And it gets annoying. You get to a point where there's nothing left for you to answer. You're like, I don't know why. you know? And once you get to that point, I promise you, you won't feel as bad. You know, if you say to yourself, like, oh, I'm upset. Why? I'm upset because this didn't work out the way I wanted it to. Why? Well, things, you know, as much as I planned, they just happen. I'm at work and, you know, this other person has to get back to me before I can move forward. Why? Because that's their job. Why? Because that's what they went to school for. You see what I'm saying? I'm going veering off here, but by the time you talk yourself around that, you start to rationalize and say, like, okay, so is this something to actually be upset about, or is this something that is like less than favorable, but I can just keep moving? Sometimes it's not about getting yourself to not be upset about it, as it is understanding it's nothing that's going to be detrimental and just forcing yourself to be distracted by something else. Always be putting that into rationale for yourself. Like, being upset sucks. Is this worth being upset about, or will this not even be an issue a week from now? I still do that. I still remind myself all the time, especially with the craziness of work. So, Haley, also sometimes I feel like we struggle through things and repeat concepts because the lessons we need to learn are still being refined. Like, next time we learn something more, even though it's frustrating. You mean like hearing about it and then seeing it play out in real life? Is that what you mean by that? I feel like we struggle with things and repeat concepts. Basically, yeah. So it's like the same pattern repeats itself, you know? Once you can pinpoint it, though, you can say, oh crap, that's what's happening. That's what I'm doing. And it's frustrating, but then the next time you may recognize it better. And the time after that, you're going to recognize it a mile away. You know, so it sucks, but it's kind of like the only way to get better at it is to continue to coach yourself, continue to pep talk yourself around those thoughts that are going to keep you where you are. Sometimes, oh wait, I'm going to say here, like sometimes we feel like we are already learning something, but there's more to it. Oh, there is always more to it. And everybody, I want you to get comfortable with this concept. You should always want to continue learning. Not if you ever come across any expert, doctor, anybody in this world who thinks that they've got it all down pat and they don't want to learn anything because they feel they don't need to learn anything, that's your first sign to run. Because anybody who doesn't want to continue building and getting better at things or thinks they know all there is to know, that's someone who's going to end up being, you know, ignorant to everything in the end because they're not opening their mind to what they want to know. So all of us, we're all going to continue learning. I love to continue learning. You know, my business wouldn't be what it is if I wouldn't continue learning and passing that on to you guys. So don't be frustrated by it. Start thinking about it as like, okay, well, each time this happens, it's going to be better and better. There's more to it. I love that. There's always more to it. And that's a great thing. That's what leads to breakthroughs. Is we could talk about it to exhaustion, but the minute you guys experience a breakthrough in this area, it's going to impact you so much more because you're going to be like, oh, I did that thing. I did it today. I figured it out, you know, and it's going to be something that's going to make you feel good about going forward and incorporating it into your life. So awesome stuff. Do you guys have any questions for me? You can type them out. You can unmute yourself. I just ask that if you do that, raise your hand like in video so I can say which person to call on. Other than that, if you guys would like, I would love it, but if you guys wouldn't mind leaving your questions, feedback, whatever on the recording of this, I'm going to post it in the page. The more feedback you guys give me, the more I can see where I can grow and become stronger as I present these lessons to you guys. So, and if there's any requests for specific subject topics, throw them your girls' way because I can't wait to get away from the holiday craziness, you know, hearing the same stuff as much as I love it because I'm helping you guys. I would love some fresh ideas for some subjects over the next few weeks, especially. So let me know. Oh, wait. Is there any chance this, and this is sent to me, is there any chance this links with insurmountable tasks? So Alexandria, I'm going to put this recording up in the page. I'm going to ask you a huge favor because I have a feeling that this is a really good question. Can you text me specifically what you're meaning about this, and let's have a dialogue on it. And if anything, I can post the screenshots of our convo like in the chat, or I mean on the recording comments. We'll go from there. So thank you guys for tuning in. I know it's a different day. I appreciate you accommodating me from yesterday. I hope you have a fantastic evening, and I'd love to hear what your thoughts are from this message. And love y'all. Have a great night. Bye.